Happy holidays, everybody, and Tony here with a review of 12 Tiny Christmas Tales, which aired on Cartoon Network on December 7, 2001. This was created, animated, and directed by Bill Plympton. It was produced by Marie McElhorn and John Halderide. The cinematography was done by John Donnelly. The editor was Anthony Archidi, and it starred the voices of Madeline Thomas, Billy Schneider, Madeline Rogan, Peter Dillon Rogan, Oliver Wyman, aka Pete Zarustica, Tony Carroll, Rebecca Honig, and Sheldona Smythe. I remember catching this on Cartoon Network when I was about 10 years old, and the one scene that stuck with my mind was the scene of a little boy singing Jingle Bells, whether it was Valentine's Day or Thanksgiving or 4th of July. That very scene from 12 Tiny Christmas Tales stuck with my mind ever since I was a kid, and I've been wanting to find out more about this film. And that was until I was searching all throughout the internet that I found out that this was the scene that I remember this from. 12 Tiny Christmas Tales, created by Bill Plympton. I also remembered enjoying this when I was a very young kid, and I still enjoy this as an adult to this very day. It may not be the greatest Christmas movie out there, but its heart is in the right place, and it managed to bring a lot of nostalgic feelings every time I came back to this. Story-wise, this is essentially a story within a story, as we have the main story centering around a grandma and her 3 grandchildren as she tells 12 different Christmas stories. Victor the Christmas Tree, which is about a pine tree who grows from being very small to one of the most beautiful Christmas trees ever. Cecil the Snowman, which is about a sentient snowman who falls in love with a snow girl, especially considering that the snowman and the snow woman were built respectively by a little human boy and a little human girl. Blitzen, the Untold Story, which is about one of Santa's reindeer trying to make it as a comedian. The 12 Days of Christmas, which is a bird version because instead of having 5 golden rings, there were 5 flamingos in this song. The Little Veggie Christmas, which is about a little green vegetable who is really worried about how she's going to be used for the holidays. The Attack of the Killer Snowflake, which is about a sentient snowflake, albeit a large one, who goes around taking away people from the holidays. Lester the Loud Tie, which is about a very colorful necktie who wants to be bought on Christmas Eve. The Dancing Bear and the King, which is about a lonely king who is entertained by a dancing bear as he tries to smile at his antics. The Boy Who Loved Christmas, which is also the story I remember the most, which is about a little boy named Eugene who just loves dressing up as Santa Claus and singing jingle bells. The Peddler and the Donkey, which is about, of course, a peddler and his donkey traveling towards town on Christmas Eve. The Plucky Present, which is about one of Santa's sentient presents who is trying to make it to his prospective owner on Christmas Eve. And The Carolers, which is about a human Christmas caroler and his pet dog who are trying to entertain the crowd on Christmas Eve with their songs. Interspersed with these tales is a cat who is trying to capture the cuckoo bird from the cuckoo clock just to add a little bit of humor to the story. So the main story as well as the 12 vignettes managed to be thoroughly entertaining, and they also have this type of warmth and fuzziness that I really like when it comes to the holidays. It also has that nostalgic quality as if though I were reading a children's storybook, and I also love that type of nostalgic feeling that I managed to get out of the entire story. It's simple, it's straightforward, it's not too overly complex because it doesn't need to, and it's also very down to earth in its approach. There is absolutely no limit in terms of how old or how young someone is to fully enjoy all 12 vignettes as well as the main story going on with Grandma and her 3 grandkids. Speaking of storybook, the animation also emits that feeling of what it's like to look through an illustrated storybook for children And it also has that feeling considering the usage of sketches as well as some muted palettes to bring that feeling of what it's like to flip through the pages come to life. Bill Plympton knew how to emit that feeling that we get, especially if you grew up as a child looking at all of these illustrated storybooks, and he really knew how to bring that sensation into the small screen. The animation is not completely fluid because there are moments in which it can be jagged and be very limited with its movements. But what it managed to emit with that nostalgic feeling was really well done, and it made me feel like I could go back in time being a kid, going through all the bookstores and looking at all the storybooks I like. The music is charming, sweet, and it also has that very calming value, especially if you have a day that doesn't seem too bright. You can always count on the music of 12 Tiny Christmas Tales to make you feel more uplifted and to also bring a little smile on your face whenever you have a day that was not too great. You really have to leave it to Maureen McElhorn for composing such a really nice and soothing score. And my highlights from the music are Remember Christmas, which is a very lovely duet between Hank Bones as the male vocals and Maureen McElhorn as the female vocals, and their voices blended so beautifully. This particular song almost reminded me of listening to a lot of the old Christmas tunes, especially from the likes of Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra. There was also an eclectic mixture of various types of music. You have folk music in the form of kalinka, some jazz numbers as well as some really nice classical pieces, especially implemented on the 12 Days of Christmas. And let's also not forget about the music being implemented for the slapstick moments between the cat and the cuckoo clock. That's also really lovely. So overall, the music does a very fine job of being so reflective, especially for simpler times. The characters are just as simple, but they're all really likable. Grandma or Grammy is very caring and sweet towards her grandchildren, and she's also firm when she has to be, considering that the children do need to go to bed on time. There's nothing too deep about her, but she's a very well-meaning and very sweet character whose presence I really enjoy. The three children, consisting of an older boy, the younger girl, and the younger boy, are all lovable as well. And there's also a very funny moment in which the girl kisses the older boy, which I thought was rather sweet, but I kind of question if those two were even siblings, or if she's just doing it for fun. Well, it's left to the viewer's interpretation, but I kind of regard this as childhood fun between the older boy and the little girl, especially since the little girl instigates those said movements on the boy. Their cat is just thoroughly entertaining, and his moments trying to catch the cuckoo on the cuckoo clock were absolutely hilarious. Out of all the characters I really enjoyed Eugene, the boy who loved Christmas, just because he was so hilarious. The little green vegetable, because of just how really charming she was, especially when she expresses her sentiments, and especially when she hears about all those quote-unquote terrible tales of what the vegetables might go through if they end up being bought for the holidays. Lester the Thai was also fun and relatable, considering that he is the Thai version of the Ugly Duckling, and if you also read that particular fairy tale by Hans Christian Andersen, you'll also recognize that he does share a similar fate with the titular hero of the Ugly Duckling. Blitzen was also a hilarious character, and each of the characters in the 12 vignettes had a lot of charm and likability to make me come back to them every single time. And each of them has their own quirks that make them all the more lovable and memorable. The voice acting was really decent, and they also got real children to voice the little boy, the little girl, and the younger boy, as well as a lot of the child characters in each of the stories. And what's really interesting about a lot of the voice actors is that they did not have any other credits aside from 12 Tiny Christmas Tales. However, there were two professional voice actors who ended up having roles in this neat little Christmas TV movie. And those were Oliver Wyman, with his screen name being Pete Zarostika, and Rebecca Honig. Going to Oliver Wyman, aka Pete Zarostika, he was able to do a very fine job voicing Blitzen in all of his awkward hilarity and in all of his lovability, thus making him a character I could root for and a character I deeply appreciate. Rebecca Honig, as the little green vegetable, was absolutely lovely and a treat to listen to, as she was able to embody the little green vegetable with a lot of charm, lovability, and a sweet voice that managed to make this little green vegetable all the more lifelike. So overall, the voice acting was entertaining all the way through. And I also have to give mad props to Tony Carroll, as well as his great performances as Lester the Tie and the Plucky Present. Sure, he's mostly been well known in doing a lot of video game roles, but hearing Tony Carroll voice Lester the Tie, the Plucky Present, and the other characters in this Christmas TV movie was a real treat to listen to. So overall, 12 Tiny Christmas Tales is very big on the charm as well as the nostalgic value this Christmas TV movie has. It may not be the most exciting installment I've seen in a very long time, nor is it anything that was boring. It is lighthearted, charming, lovable, and it left me with a very fuzzy feeling inside me that made me go back to this particular Christmas TV movie, and it left me with a nice smile that managed to make me look back at this short film and find a lot of comforting moments that make me feel just as elated as I was when I was a child. So I'm gonna give 12 Tiny Christmas Tales 4 out of 5 stars. Even though it's not the most exciting Christmas film I've ever seen, there are definitely moments which still make it all the more comforting, all the more nostalgic, and all the more enjoyable to watch. It has a lot of charm, which has made this film a whole lot stronger than it was, and the lovability of each of the characters in 12 Tiny Christmas Tales was something to hold for a very long time, and it's also something that's been ingrained in my mind for many years. It's comforting, it's cozy, and you will not be disappointed whatsoever. It's a very satisfactory film, and if you haven't seen this already, please give it a shot. You will not be disappointed, and you will be left with a very warm, fuzzy feeling after you've finished this film. And for those of you who already watched 12 Tiny Christmas Tales, what'd you think of it? Was there a favorite story you really, really liked? Was there a character you enjoyed the most? Or was this particular Christmas TV movie not for you? Comment below and let me know. Well, that's it for my review of 12 Tiny Christmas Tales. Tune in much later where I do a tribute on Cartoon Network's Holiday Rush, which was a commercial that aired back in 2005 and one that I still love to this very day. So until then, happy holidays, everybody!